Steve, I want to go to you and talk a little bit about the demographics that Phil talked about a little bit earlier. So one of the big challenges facing our economy and our federal budget is this major demographic shift we are in the middle of. We have a rapidly growing population of seniors who are drawing benefits from Social Security and Medicare, and not enough working age population paying into the system. Both programs are facing insolvency in their trust funds. In a State of the Union address recently, President Biden got all of Congress to stand up for seniors and not to cut Social Security and Medicare. And you worked at the Social Security Administration and you know this program very well. Can you give us a snapshot of where we are with Social Security? How close are we to insolvency and why is that happening? And what is at stake for seniors if we don't fix it?
Yeah, so as you say, the problem is largely demographic. I mean, Americans are living longer and having fewer kids. I mean, if you go back to 1935, when Social Security was enacted, life expectancy for men who turned 65 in 1935, they could expect to live about another 12 years, and women could expect to live about another 13 years. Since that time, we've added early retirement. So instead of retiring at 65 and living another 10 or 12 years, we now can retire at age 62. So we've added 3 years on the front end, and men are living about 17 years on average from age 65 and about 20 years for women. So from that perspective, we've increased the length of time that people spend in retirement or collecting benefits in retirement by almost 50%. So, clearly the elderly population is growing. They can retire early and collect benefits for longer. In addition to that, though, since the mid 60s, when the baby boom ended, fertility rates have been sort of bouncing up and down, and they've been in the neighborhood of basically 2 births per woman, which is replacement rate. But since 2007, birth rates have been on a steady, almost consistent decline. Fertility rates are now around 1.65. And obviously, were that rate to continue, that's below replacement rate. So absent immigration, we would have a declining, aging population where there were, a huge shift in terms of the population structure, the age structure of the population. And to sort of put that in perspective, so the average Social Security benefit is about 40% of the average wage. So if you take the average benefit, divide by the average wage, it's about 40%. If you have 3 workers for every beneficiary, you can pay that 40% benefit with a tax of about 13%. So the tax currently in current law for Social Security is 12%, 12.4. So basically that's in balance. You got a 12% tax, 13% cost. But as the population ages, that ratio of 3 to 1 goes to 2 to 1. So now when you divide that 40% benefit by 2 workers instead of 3, you now have a cost of almost 20%. So, you can tell the problem is if you're not going to raise the payroll tax to 20%, you're not going to, delay the retirement age, you're not going to reduce benefits somehow, you can't make the math add up. And that's the situation we face today. The latest trustees report from last year, although I think the new one is coming out very soon, maybe even this week. But the last trustees report suggested that the Social Security Trust Fund would be insolvent somewhere around 2034, 2035, I believe. And what that, of course, means is that the system essentially is collecting payroll taxes and paying benefits, but there's a deficit. They're drawing down the trust fund. Once the trust fund is exhausted, they will only have taxes coming in to pay the benefits. And of course, there won't be enough taxes to pay the benefits. And so you're looking at about a 20% across the board benefit cut. And I think the way it would probably work out is that the Treasury Department would simply delay paying benefits until they collected additional payroll taxes, and then they would send out the checks. And so essentially you'd be getting, 9 checks a year instead of 12 checks a year, which is the same as a 20% benefit cut. And so that's the prospect that we face. And so, when the president and the Congress all stand up and say, oh, we're not going to touch Social Security and Medicare. Well, if they don't touch Social Security and Medicare, the trust funds are going to become insolvent and benefits will be cut automatically unless Congress and the president agree to do something. And of course, that's, the dilemma that they face is, what are they going to do? And, it's not clear there's any agreement there.